Solomon succeeds David. Dear friends, today we are entering the 11th book of the Bible, 1 Kings. 1st and 2nd Chronicles mostly contain the same things as 2nd Samuel and 1st and 2nd Kings. The main difference between these books is that the book of Kings describes the relationship between the kings and their throne, while Chronicles describes the relationship between the kings and the temple of God. So, our further stories will be an overall explanation of both books. Or else, after this book, when we reach Chronicles, the repetition of stories will make you bored. With this introduction, let's get into the book. In the previous story, we saw an old David, right? David's servants sought for a beautiful young woman to wait on the king and be in his service. They found Abishag the Shunammite and brought her to the king, and she was very beautiful. Now David's fourth son, Adonijah, started plotting against his father. Adonijah had the support of Joab and Abiathar in his plan to become king. But Zadok the priest and Benaiah the son of Jehoiada and Nathan the prophet and Shimei and Rei and David's mighty men were not with Adonijah. Adonijah sacrificed sheep, oxen, and fattened cattle by the serpent's stone, which is beside En-Rogel. And he invited all his brothers, the king's sons, and all the royal officials of Judah. But he did not invite Nathan the prophet, or Benaiah, or the mighty men, or Solomon. And Adonijah proclaimed himself king. Nathan informed this to Bathsheba. God's decision that Solomon son of Bathsheba was to be king after David was known to everyone. God had said this even before Solomon's birth. Then, as per Nathan's advice, Bathsheba informed these things to David. King David called Zadok the priest, Nathan the prophet, and Benaiah son of Jehoiada, and told them to take Solomon and bring him down to Gihon, and there anoint him as king. They did so. Zadok anointed Solomon with oil, and all the people rejoiced with great joy. On the other side, Adonijah and all the guests who were with him heard this as they finished feasting. While they were wondering what the uproar was about, Jonathan son of Abiathar came in and told them what had happened. Then all the guests of Adonijah trembled and rose, and each went his own way. Adonijah feared that Solomon would kill him, but he did not do that. Thus Solomon sat on David's throne. In that time when sons take the throne after their father's death, God allowed David to see his son Solomon sit on his throne. When David's time to die drew near, he commanded Solomon to obey all God's commandments and statutes, which were written in the law of Moses. Then David slept with his fathers. And the time that David reigned over Israel was 40 years. Solomon sat on the throne of David his father, and his kingdom was firmly established. But Adonijah's eyes were still on the throne. In his next step towards that, he expressed his desire to marry Abishag, David's servant, to Bathsheba. Not knowing the trap in this, Bathsheba went to Solomon with this request. Wasn't this the same thing Absalom did a few years ago when he tried to seize the throne? The first advice he had gotten was to sleep with the concubines that David left to take care of the palace. Solomon, who understood the seriousness of the issue, sent Benaiah son of Jehoiada to kill Adonijah. Further, Solomon called Abiathar and told him to go back to his estate in Anathoth. Though he was deserving of death for siding with Adonijah, because he carried the ark of God before his father and shared in his troubles, he was given permission to return to his hometown. So Solomon expelled Abiathar from being priest before God, thus fulfilling the word of the Lord that he had spoken concerning the house of Eli in Shiloh. This news reached Joab. Knowing what would be the verdict for him, Joab fled to the tent of the Lord. But on Solomon's order, Benaiah killed him too. Because he killed Amasa, commander of Judah, and Abner, commander of Israel, without any reason, the blood came back on his own head. Then Solomon made Benaiah son of Jehoiada commander of the army, and appointed Zadok the priest in the place of Abiathar. After that Solomon the king went to Gibeon to sacrifice there, for the tent of meeting of God, which Moses the servant of the Lord had made in the wilderness, was there. Solomon offered 1,000 burnt offerings on the altar there. There the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream by night. Solomon asked for an understanding mind to govern his people. It pleased the Lord that he asked for this, and the Lord gave him a wise and discerning mind. And his fame was in all the surrounding nations. And he wrote 3,000 proverbs and 105 songs. He spoke of trees from the cedar in Lebanon to the hyssop that grows out of the wall. He spoke also of beasts and of birds, and of reptiles and of fish. And the people of all nations came to hear the wisdom of Solomon. Then, as per David's wish of building a temple for God, Solomon began preparing for it. We will see more details of the construction of the temple in the next video. God bless you.